All right, thank you. So welcome. It's our April Sustainability Committee meeting. And we have quite a bit to get through, and I'm hoping we usually try to get done in about an hour. So we'll try to cover everything in that time. We're going to skip the first item on our agenda for right now and come back to it. So we're going to go first to the sustainability webpage update. And this is something we've been talking about for a while. At our last meeting, I had asked that everybody just write down, 5 ideas for what they felt should be included in or should be considered for inclusion on a new page within the city's website that would be devoted to sustainability. So everybody sent those ideas to Nick, and it's going to be up to you to decide what you're actually going to be able to fit on that page. So I will let you give the update on that.
Okay, well, thank you, Councilmember Fluid. So I'll try and run through just a couple items that each of you submitted, and as Mr. Coulter did as well. So Brian submitted to the city, and I think it'll be really nice to have on our page information about bioswales. It was pretty fascinating, a lot about rain gardens that we want to include on that page. Certainly pesticide use, something written by Brian as well, with his experience and what to look for. That we'll feature in there from Brian. And then also, I'll let Brian touch on a little more since he's more knowledgeable with it, but utilizing urban waste wood. Brian, do you want to give a little update what that means?
Yeah, the Grosse Pointe Park was among the forerunners of utilizing urban waste wood. It's a common catchphrase now, but in the early 2000s, it really wasn't considered seriously. But because of the emerald ash borer first detected in 2002, all these municipalities had all this excess wood from all the trees that they were cutting down, and what to do with it all. And contrary to popular belief that wood is not worthless, the way the beetle killed the tree is it just disrupts the cambium, which is the outermost part of the tree. So the rest of the wood is still viable, especially after the milling process removes the contaminated part of the tree. So our contractor at the time, J&W Tree Artisans, we went in with a partnership with them. He has 2 mills on his property in Chesterfield Township, and we milled a lot of that wood. And as a matter of fact, the floor at the warming hut down by the ice rink is made from diseased ash wood from trees we cut down, and he milled, and then we made it into a wood floor. And there's other examples as well how we used it. But I wrote an article back then regarding how we were reutilizing this diseased waste wood.
Cool, thanks, Brian. Oh, go ahead.
Can I add something, Chair Fluid? First of all, Brian, that's a wooden tie hanging on your wall, right? Which I think is very cool for an arborist to have. But that's the history of the Belle Isle sawmill, is the felled trees. In fact, I think the sawmill was one of the first in the nation to do that. And Brian, you and I have the honor of crossing paths periodically because of your work with the arboricultural or arborist association and Joe Aiken and the like. So there could be a story to tell just in tying the history as well, and how it's sort of going back to those roots, so to speak, and utilizing a resource that's there.
No, excellent point. I'm glad you brought that up. I was telling Nick earlier that this is not a new concept. It just became really popular recently. There's a company called Live Edge Detroit. It's actually based in Troy, but reutilizing all this waste wood has been a real popular thing recently. But like you said, it has a long history. Back in the 20s, they built a sawmill on Belle Isle to accommodate all the trees they had to cut down to widen the roads like Woodward, because the vehicle now, it was fairly new. And they used all that wood, and there's some fascinating video on that. Michelle and I are part of this nonprofit organization that we're trying to restore the Belle Isle sawmill. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
That's really interesting. I had no idea that that was something that the city was already engaged in.
Yeah, and so a couple other items we're looking to build on that back end of that page right now. SEMCOG has a lot of items about Ozone Action Day, encouraging those to walk or bike, instead of using vehicles. Those are things that we'd like to highlight as well. I know Councilmember Fluid and I share this love, especially right now, as the Buy Nothing and swap pages in Grosse Pointe Park. Those are something that's become really popular. A lot of people are very much involved. A lot of cities have their own page. So I think that's important to highlight those so we can reduce waste and, share amongst the community. So that's something we're looking to include. Information regarding composting sites, where they are in the Metro Detroit area. There's a couple companies that, you can send your compost to. One thing I wanted to look into is certainly maybe there's some community gardens out there that might be looking for compost. Something I definitely wanted to look at, and definitely relay, from what we have on our website right now, and just included on there about the recycling. What you can recycle with GFL right now. Just highlighting it there again. And then, something, we definitely want to touch on as well a little bit is about the DT programs. They have programs regarding, thermostat. It's almost like, I forget the car company, where it has a little monitor that you can really try and track, your usage. So you try not to use the peak usage, which actually save you money in the long run regarding your energy uses. So we're working on these right now, compiling them, building them on the back end of our website. And before that becomes available, I will certainly let the committee know when it is going to be launched. So that's kind of my little update regarding the website and what we're working on. And Councilmember Fluid, unless there's any questions, I'm ready to start on the Green Communities Challenge update.
Well, do you have any idea when we'll be ready to launch that webpage?
Working with our website developer, I would probably presume within the next month. So
Okay,
working
cool.
with them. Yep.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, if there aren't any other questions, let's go ahead to the Green Communities Challenge.
Okay, great. So Brian and I, we've been working on this, and as we discussed in our last meeting, we wanted to see if we can start at the bottom and keep working our way up. So we really wanted to try and hit the bronze challenge. In order to receive the bronze, we'll call it the star, you have to meet 6 of the 12 items in order to complete that. As of right now, Brian and I feel very confident that number 2 in regards to the energy audits is something that, as we're starting with DTE, that is, an action item that we've already started and will complete. Number 3, we're at right now our sustainability committee. So that's something we feel strongly we have. Number 4 is implementing a program to protect natural features such as wetlands, tree canopy, or water resources. We have to check with the Green Communities Challenge because I believe having Brian Coulter as our city forester would certainly help with that. As well, Brian has worked on a survey of our tree canopy in Grosse Pointe Park. Brian may have to correct me, but I believe the number of our tree canopy is like 36 or 37% within the Grosse Pointe, which is the highest, and that's awesome for an urban community as ours. So that's something we need to check with. I believe we can check that box, but we'll check with them. Number 5, implement a program to encourage recycling and waste reduction. I want to check and see, I believe it's something we can do, and we're looking at with Parks and Rec right now, which is a further agenda topic in regards to featuring now recycling containers over in the parks right now. We do have a couple within the Lavin Center, but certainly talking with Mr. Craig, we have room in our current fiscal year budget right now to approve purchasing those, and hopefully we can fit a couple in next year's budget. Number 6, implement a program to encourage low impact design or implement a green infrastructure project. This is one of those that, SEMCOG does send out periodic grants that are available for projects that you could potentially get funding for. So that's an area that we might be able to achieve if we were to pursue such a project in our grant. Number 8, creating an inventory of local government-owned street lighting. This is something we currently have right now. So this relates to on Mack Avenue, those new street lights there, Charlevoix, Charlevoix. Those are actual city lights compared to if you were to go over on, Lake Point, Pemberton, Berkshire, those are all DTE lights. Those are not owned by the city, but we obviously pay a charge for use of those lights. Last but not least, that I believe we can achieve and or we've worked on is number 10, implement a program to encourage non-motorized transportation and or install infrastructure to support non-motorized. The city the last couple of years has purchased bike racks that are available in the business districts. And I believe with the work that's being done in the Grosse Pointe Park master plan process, there's going to be, certainly an area of encouraging that non-motorized transportation. So looking at this list already and those ones I just went over, we're already at, potentially about 7, we'll call it 7, 8 items. And so, give or take, I believe by, the end of this year, we will certainly reach that bronze status. So pretty excited about it. It's nice to see that we've already done some of these and there's a couple that are easily attainable.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I agreed with you on several of those. I didn't even think about number 4 about having the protection of the tree canopy, but yeah, definitely, Brian's work. If you guys think we're already there, we're almost there with that, that's fantastic. So do you have an idea of which one of these you would kind of like to address first? Do you want to kind of compile the information that they would require for the ones that we've already checked off? How do you want to go about starting this process?
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to them and tell them I believe we have numbers 2, 3, and 8 already checked off the box. And here's the information for each of those. After that, as long as that on that same list, I'm going to check back on number 4 and number 10 just to see if what we have currently complies with those check marks. And then obviously that'll tell us whether or not we already have it or those are action items we need to take. And then certainly number 5 and number 6 are future items that we can consider, that, can be taken, in the next couple months.
Nick, can you read those numbers? Sorry, Michelle. I
Oh,
was
go
gonna
ahead.
ask if he could read those numbers off again that he.
Okay.
And 8. You said?
And in the bronze level action, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 8, and number 10.
Okay. And you said 2, 3, and 8 we should have right away already.
2, 3, and 8 we should have right away, and then we're going to check on 4 and 10 that we might have right away too.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Sorry, Michelle.
No, not at all. Chair Fluid, just to add to that, I'm always trying to think holistically and from a management mentality. Looking at number 4, could you add the marina or is that kind of a stretch? I mean, is that protecting a water asset just to bolster that and enrich it? I mean, that was just one thing that came to mind. And then with number 10, I know a concept we often use at my day job is the lighter, quicker, cheaper mentality. What can you implement with few resources, but that has high impact? There is Bike to Work Day that, it could be a simple Facebook post, that might check that box.
Mm-hmm.
I know they didn't do it in 2019 or 2020 because of COVID, but it's something that has quite a bit of stamina tied to it, nationwide, but certainly in the region too, through the Detroit Greenways Coalition and that. And we have so many people who work downtown under normal circumstances. I know I ride my bike to Belle Isle all the time. So it could be a reasonable way to bolster our submission on that one too. A lighter, quicker, cheaper way of doing that.
I agree. I think, if we're going to say we're targeting number 10 as a goal, then we should have, ideally 4 or 5 different things where we can say, we did this, we did this, we did this. And yeah, a Bike to Work Day, you know, there was some discussion a while ago about bike lanes on Kirchhoff, so maybe we need to decide if we're going to do that or not, so that if we do decide to go forward with that project, we can include it as part of this. But I agree, you know, let's address all the facets of that infrastructure before we see if it's going to meet their standard or not.
And it's nothing we have to create from scratch. You know, somebody else already did the work. It's basically just sharing the content and engaging our community in it. It's usually in May, like the end of May.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
Googled it trying to get a, you know, current read on it, and I couldn't, but I do know the folks at the Detroit Greenways Coalition. You know, I can reach out to them too to see what they've decided for this year. If you want me to, Nick, or introduce you to them, whatever, however I can help, I'm here.
Yeah, the
Sounds
schools are doing that, I think May 5th, if I'm not mistaken, Bike to School Day.
That's
That's
they do it
correct.
every year.
And public safety is working with them too, you know, on that right now. So
Good, that's awesome.
Well, there you go. It's already done.
Check.
The other one that I thought we might be interested in was number 12, developing the green purchasing policy, because that's something I think we had kind of touched on in the past and hadn't really come back to. So that may not be one of our main goals, but I think that would be something that's fairly simple to implement as well. And I have I've had an example in my possession for a while now that I've just been holding on and you know, until we could address this. So just something to consider.
And
shoot
one of
it
my
over.
questions.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
be interested
Nick,
to read
sorry.
it. Oh, I'm all set.
One of my questions just would be, you know, what are there other implications, you know, that affect budgets and that sort of thing? You just want to be an eyes wide open decision. You know, does it increase our cost? Does it save money? So I would just want to understand those implications.
Yeah,
Right.
that's something I want to look at definitely. And I know there's probably a couple other good samples I could check out. And obviously, depending upon what entails in that green purchasing policy, it's something we're going to have to look at, you know, regarding budget time and purchasing and that. So, yeah.
Okay, that sounds great. So that's another thing that goes on Nick's list to start working on all of this. And then are we ready to move on to the information on our action items, which was recycling bins? And then, well, let's just start with what you were able to find out about adding recycling bins to our public spaces.
Yeah, so I talked with Chad Craig before he went on vacation, and you know, one of the things that you know, from this committee that we discussed is the need to include recycling containers, especially during the summertime and fall. We have so many picnics and parties, and you're just seeing all this, you know, going in the trash, and it's just a real, you know, shame to see that. And so I've talked with Chad that we, you know, we do have a vendor that we use, and they actually do use like recycled materials, and or they'll use a you know, certain steel that lasts, you know, through the end of time. And you know, we'd like to just put in their bottles, you know, cans, that type of thing. And so actual numbers right now, Chad was gonna have a quote for me on that. I don't have that in front of me right now, but I do know from just getting one or two, absolutely he can buy right now. And so that's something we were going to do. Bike racks, at least down in the parks, you know, Chad felt we were in pretty good shape there, but I know we have had a discussion about, we do have bike racks in the business districts. However, sometimes they can impede the traffic, you know, of people walking by and that. And there are other measures where you can have like a simple loop and nice designs. That's something I'm certainly looking as part of our budget process with the tax increment finance authority of purchasing, you know, bike racks, you know, that are better suited for the business districts. And so that's something I want to present to them during their budget process.
Councilmember Fluid, or Nick, you and I talked last year, right? Did we buy 4 or 5 last year for Charlevoix and Kirchhoff?
That we did, yes, Councilmember Rayland.
So you guys are improving or increasing those numbers as every year. So that's cool.
Yeah, I think at least since I've been with the city, I think we purchased probably, I'm gonna say 8 to 10.
Good.
Because I was involved with actually buying those.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'd get them, and they're powder coated steel. They work great. But at the same time, obviously with the amount of traffic flow, people walking by on the sidewalks, and now the use with COVID of businesses using, that sidewalk space, we need to certainly see if we can try and condense it and make it a little easier for everybody to walk by, and it's not so cluttered.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll reach out to Chad and copy you about the bike racks at the park. We use those a lot, and I don't know if they get moved and clustered together, but we can use maybe some space on the right of when you come into the park, maybe to the right, add 2 there or move 2 over there, so there's more space, because then you can use them more efficiently.
And that's something we've been looking to do too, because there are some bike racks there that have certainly been very serviceable during their time, but they're looking a little beat up. And so we certainly want to go ahead and we've tried purchasing some new ones over time, so they look nice, and they can be easily moved by staff, because Vikas, you could probably see that there's some of those bike racks that I think on each side they service probably 10 or 12 bikes.
Yeah.
So 24, we'll say. They are quite heavy.
Yeah, those things are beasts.
They work good. So,
Yeah.
But it would be a lot nicer. And something that down the road too, we want to look at getting one of those bike Fixit stations, similar to what's right outside of the Ewald branch. Even for Patterson as well. Just if something happens. And
was that donated?
I believe, yes, the
Government
county, yes, Tim Colleen, the county commissioner, worked with the library and a couple of the other communities. I know Grosse Pointe Shores has theirs right in front of their city hall. There's the location that we talked with the library, that'd be good over there. And then I can't remember where the other locations were, but that was a grant through Wayne County and Commissioner Tim Colleen.
Awesome. So it's possible to get another one. That's great. Thank you.
So with the bike racks, are we feeling that we probably have enough? We just need to look at maybe moving them to different locations or reorganizing them? Or are we looking at getting a different type of bike rack altogether?
I think a little both. I think if we were to take some of the bike racks that are over in the business district that use up a lot of space, and maybe we put those over at Park and Rec at Patterson and Windmill, and then we end up looking to certainly replace those bike racks with more decorative and not as cumbersome into the sidewalk. I think those are the action items that we would probably look to take. Or at least that's my initial thought. And then if certainly there's other areas that businesses feel like, hey, I get a lot of bike traffic here, or at least in this area, can we have one? Absolutely, we'll look into.
Well, and then that goes hand in hand with what we were just talking about, which is once we know, exactly where they're all going to be permanently located, we can start to advertise that a little bit more and start encouraging people to use them more often, make sure that people are aware that they're already located in pretty much all of the locations that they would want to bike to, but just have those reminders out there and encourage them to use them.
I know as soon as we purchased our first one on Charlevoix, I had every hand in Charlevoix. Can I have one? Can we get one? And yeah, we've got probably 4 or 5 down on Charlevoix right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what we talked about, because we were riding our bikes to Charlevoix a lot, and I didn't see one there. And now I think there is one there. Maybe, I'm not sure. But you were in the process of placing some.
Yes.
So thanks for pushing that.
So
problem.
Nick, what's your understanding? Because it was something that the master plan survey kind of touched on, when it was asking people what their priorities would be. What's your understanding of how much of this is actually going to be addressed in the master plan?
From my understanding of what will be addressed in the master plan is, certainly one of the things they're looking at is pedestrian and bike friendly space, going to the business district, relieving that congestion of vehicles. And so it's something that I think it's really going to depend upon those survey results that were asked, from the residents of how important it is for you to have, this multimodal and non-motorized transportation to you. And so I believe when we have our open house at the end of the month, this is something that's going to be further touched on. They're actually going to have certain like key areas, we'll call them stations, that they're going to have, where would you like to see, more of this focused at? And I do believe that probably the non-motorized transportation is going to be one of those. So right now, probably the best update will come next week at our planning commission meeting. There will be an update from MKSK regarding that process.
Okay. Michelle, did you have any questions about the bike racks? Okay.
No, thank you.
I wanted to go back to the recycling bins for just a second. So you said Recreation is planning on going ahead and buying 1 or 2 of them right now.
That's correct.
Okay, and then possibly including that in the budget for next year?
That's correct.
Would they be aware of, because I'm wondering, ideally, I'd like to have them in the parks and the business districts. But would it make more sense for us to have 4 of them and then see whether they're being utilized before we invest any more money in additional bins? And if that's the case, is that going to be something that's going to be easy for us to track? Is Chad Craig going to be aware whether people are actually using the recycling bins in the park or not?
Yeah, I think what we can do is we'll as you say, we'll certainly do a test and see. We do have maintenance staff that will have to unload those recycling containers, and so we'll see. With obviously a little PR and education, to let them know that they're here, to please use them, and then if obviously we're seeing a success in that, then we can purchase more. But if we're not seeing a success, then maybe it's a little bit more PR, and we need to think about whether or not we look to purchase these, because you're looking at each one of these is probably about $600-700. So they are quite expensive, but they last forever. So it's certainly an investment that's going to be there for a very long time.
Do you have any idea yet, when you're talking about budgeting for next year, how many more you're thinking about for next fiscal year?
So specifically the amount, no, but what we do is we loop in, other things as well. So that'd be park benches, that could be grills, that could be, recycling containers, trash containers. And so, we try and always, we keep a little bit. So, I'm just shooting a number, for example, it could be that we have $20,000, in that line item that maybe we can see about keeping it that way, or, bringing up a little more if we know we're going to purchase 1 or 2.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Michelle.
Just one resource to offer. We have so much talent in our community. John Francis owns a huge trash, I think it's Detroit Disposal Company. So he might have some, if nothing else, Nick, just serve as a resource for you, to drop ideas against and see what he thinks, or who knows, maybe he'd even be willing to donate some stuff. We grew up together, so I'd be happy to do that introduction too, if you need it, if you don't know him.
It's under $25,000. So, I can go ahead and approve that right away. I'll let you guys know.
Okay.
How about you, Brian? Did you have anything?
No, I didn't.
Okay, all right, thanks. Okay, well then we will move on to commemoration of Earth Day. And I will tell you guys, so Earth Day, I'm sure you guys realize, is next week. It's the 22nd, which is next Thursday. And I was trying to come up with some things we could do. And obviously it doesn't just have to be one thing, but I started thinking about the Sustain Grosse Pointe Park initiative that Councilmember McConnell developed, and Sustain used in that context is a completely different meaning, but I kept coming back to it. And I started thinking about Earth Day and sustainability and her Sustain initiative, and realizing that what she's trying to do is promote local business and promote shopping locally. And that actually is a feature of sustainability in a green context as well. So I was talking to her today, and I know Vikas has been working with beautification on the Arbor Day program. And so what we were talking about was putting those Arbor Day posters up at stores in our business districts, which I think is something that Vikas was saying is something that they used to do anyway prior to judging of the posters. So getting those out there in public, and again, that's kind of one of those activities that hopefully would promote people walking through the business district and kids and families looking for their posters and that kind of thing. But then at the same time, reaching out to our local businesses and asking them to participate in Earth Day. You know, we put up a poster and we asked them to let us know what they or their business is planning to do to commemorate Earth Day. And then we get that out there. We put it out on the Sustain page. We can put it out on the city page. You know, I can post it on Facebook all day long because it's my idea and I don't want to give a task to somebody else. But we can do that the whole day. We can start a few days ahead of time, depending on if businesses are really interested. But that was what I came up with, was getting businesses to tell us what they're doing and then allowing social media to be used to promote those businesses throughout the day. And that way we're promoting sustainability, but we're also promoting our local businesses as well.
So Earth Day is the 22nd, right? And then Arbor Day we resolved is April 30th. I wonder if we could do a Thursday through the following Friday, kind of, you know, come see all these posters and all this stuff celebrating Earth Day, and then each business that you said can be advertised on your page to say what they're doing, and, you know, if there's anything.
Yeah.
It's an expedited plan because we have a week. But
yeah,
they don't have to buy lemonade and give out lemonade or anything. These are probably things they're already doing, but we can advertise them that way. So I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they can say, you know, we started recycling bottles last year. It doesn't have to be anything new that they have to do, but just something where they can say, this is an example of what we're doing to help the environment.
Yeah.
But I'm certainly willing to listen to other ideas as well. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, a couple ideas I had. You know, I pulled up the Earth Day celebration website. I was looking on there and seeing what's going on in the Metro Detroit area. You're definitely seeing a lot of, you know, it could be recycling is, you know, a big importance, or park cleanup. I know like Ann Arbor had one. I saw Lansing. I think East Point had something. And so I was trying to think of ideas of what are some everyday things that we can do, you know, as a city to promote to our residents of, you know, help with Earth Day. For example, and this could be as simple as, you know, putting out some information, you know, on a Facebook post and an email of consider instead of plastic straws, going to purchase a metal straw, you know, something that you can use all the time. Replace your fluorescent, you know, an old light with an LED light, you know, it's almost like that do one thing campaign on Earth Day. Pick up trash on your walk. You know, obviously we're always walking our streets, and, you know, I'm sure if you look on Facebook, there's certainly a lot of things about dog poop. You know, I know it's not the most fun thing, but, you know, that could be a way of, you know, cleaning up, reusing materials instead of throwing them away. Maybe there's a, you know, container that you would normally throw away, but hey, on this day, let's, you know, look to see if we can rethink about, you know, throwing it away and keeping it, and investing. And I know we talked about reusing water bottles, you know, something that, you know, everything, you know, we use. And so that was certainly a thought I had, you know, it's kind of more of as well of an area to consider. So just a thought. I was thinking about it today, trying to go ahead, and that's what I came up with.
I think everybody, well, I can't speak for everybody. I was bumped out for about 10 seconds there. Everybody froze. I don't know if that happened to you guys or not. So I lost a little bit of what you said there, Nick, but I love I love all those small things, which I think was something Michelle had mentioned a long time ago too, for the city webpage, was, you know, 3 easy things you can do right now. Because people like simple fixes, you know, so I liked the idea of all those individual tips. And what if we, you know, is that something we can do every day? as Vikas was saying, between the 22nd and the 30th, could the city, each day put out 1 or 2 Earth Day tips?
You guys can help give me a list. We can do that. Yeah, I wrote down 5 already. So if you can come up with a couple others, and for that week, promoting, from Earth Day to Arbor Day, is something, just that little snippet and tidbit of what you can do. I think we can do that. We can schedule them out pretty easily.
Okay.
Because
think
that was
that would
going to
be
be
great.
my question, Nick, just if you have the bandwidth to do it. And, I know on our team, people think it's simple, just do a social media post, no big deal, but it is a big deal when you're mapping out, your real estate and what you're going to plug in where. It's never as easy as it sounds, but if you think you can do it, that's great. And then the other thought would just be that the city controls that whole message, and whoever wants to share it from social media or from the city's page is fine, and to whatever venue of social media they want to. That makes sense to me too, that it's just posted on the city's page, and then it can be shared elsewhere by others.
I got an idea. It would help me out, and certainly Leah. If the committee, I know it's a short timeline, but obviously with Facebook and such, you can draft them in advance. If you could send me a couple of things by, let's say, close of business Friday. I know that's a little tight, but that would really help us out here, so that we can go ahead and try and schedule those. And then, as you'll see one shoot out and go from there. That would be very helpful.
Absolutely. And you said, you just gave us some great examples, so I'm sure we can come up with a few more. It's actually 9 days between the 22nd and the 30th, counting those days themselves. But yeah, I'm always happy to help draft something.
Yeah, and just like, I said, I think it's, we can all certainly look and think of the little things here and there, and, they make a big impact, and, it's very important. Certainly something I always, when I'm walking my dog and you're seeing trash and, picking them up, or sometimes he picks it up and eats it, there's things like that we can all do in our part to help out.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think we can build off this too for next year. Maybe make it a game, like a bingo sheet or something, but long term, short term. So we're all going to come up with some ideas and send them to Ame and Nick and Leah, or just this committee.
Yeah, if just this committee could send them over, to me, and just real little things that, maybe we'll take, depending upon the amount we have, 2 items of, hey, consider this for this day, consider that,
Yeah, the things you listed off are really good too. That's a great start already. I think if we can maybe I'll take this task on with Brian. I'm going to volunteer him to get education as well. So here's a tip. Try using a reusable straw today rather than a throwaway straw, or a metal straw rather than that. And also, hey, did you know if you did this? I'll look into it to see if it's actually feasible to get 8 tips for something you can do on a larger scale.
Anything else about Earth Day?
No, I think it was a cool idea. Something I'm pretty excited about.
Yeah, I think that sounds good. And actually, Vikas, if you will just double check on the Arbor Day posters.
Yeah, I'm
and
checking
then
my email randomly to see if Pat replied.
I'm happy to help, pass those out to businesses, and I will reach out to businesses, and it's not something I'm going to harangue people about, but I'm going to let them know it's going on, and if they want to participate, it's totally up to them. And like I said, I'll take care of, I'll make sure I'm free on the 22nd, and, I'll be there to pass that information on if there's something that they want posted. Let's go back to our first agenda item. And Brian, is that something that you have any news that you want to pass on regarding the pesticide update, or do you want to just reschedule it for our next meeting?
Yeah, I think it'd be better if they spoke to it.
Okay.
So I'm sorry about that. I guess we have to reschedule, but I want to talk about the Arbor Day posters. I can speak on that as well. So You broke up a little bit, but so our schedule for the Beautification Commission is Thursday, the 22nd, which is Earth Day. We have a meeting at 6 p.m. and a Beautification Commission meeting. And it's going to be at the Tompkins Center. So that's when we judge the 129 some posters. And what we historically have done is after we judge them, commissioners take several dozen, each commissioner takes a handful of them. And then we have, and maybe you already said this, so I apologize if you did, but we always distribute them to the local businesses, and they hang them in the windows after we judge them, and at City Hall as well, in the library.
Yeah,
Okay, that's perfect.
Yeah, last year was a break from that, I believe. I think we hung them up in our homes because of COVID and we were unsure. But yeah, that's what I was saying. They usually end up in the businesses. So I think that'll be a great way to bring it back to that program.
Yeah, we're definitely planning on doing that. That's what we always did, except last year because of the COVID. But what we did last year, in lieu of passing them out, we did a virtual poster contest, basically, where some of the commissioners worked on putting it on the website, and it really turned out great. It was a slideshow, and as a matter of fact, that won us some recognition from the National Arbor Day Foundation. They loved that despite COVID, the Arbor Day poster contest went on in Grosse Pointe Park.
Yeah, Brian, I think we're going to try to do that again this year by Brad and all of us taking pictures on that. The day of the event, the judging, we can take pictures, and there's no personal information on the front of those posters, which is really nice. So we don't have to get a permission or to use anyone's names or anything like that. So that's it. That reminds me that we need to remind everyone that we're going to do the virtual show again. So
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's all coming together.
That's great. Thank you, Brian. Okay, then it looks like we are going to be wrapping up on time. One thing that the city manager and I had talked about is just reminding everyone that this Saturday, the 17th, is Hazardous Waste Day, which we're doing in conjunction with most of the other Grosse Pointes. That's going to be at Windmill Point Park. And then next Saturday, the 24th, is Shredding Day. And obviously there are going to be other reminders going out about that. But was there anything specific on either one of those that you wanted to speak to, city manager?
So Councilmember Fluid, yeah, just as you said, we just wanted to send out a friendly reminder, the Household Hazardous Waste Day. So this is your paint cans, aerosol, those that you can't be putting in your trash to please bring down for household hazardous waste. Every Grosse Pointe participates except the Woods. They have their own waste day. And then obviously, want to remind as well about the shredding day. Your important documents and papers that you don't want anything, falling into the wrong hands, shred it. And so that's just those little friendly reminders. That's all I had.
Now that you mention it, I feel like we see when we get the reports from public safety every week, we see a lot of cases almost every week of people reporting identity theft. So yes, shredding is a good thing to keep, a good way to keep that information safe. Okay, well then we can go on to old business first. Does anybody have anything from old business that they want to touch on?
Just one thing to mention on me, I probably should have mentioned earlier, Brian, and this is like a really super small, tiny thing, but as it relates to Camelot, when you're talking with them, Brian, the whole MAC beautification effort, I don't know if it would directly impact Grosse Pointe Park because there's probably not a whole lot of, it's not like there's a median or that there. But if they're looking, if things don't work out here, or they're looking for additional spaces, that would be a nice partnership and leverage opportunity because it's an effort underway and it would be very collaborative. And they're looking for simple to implement ideas to beautify the corridor. So I'll just plant that seed with you and do with it as you feel and throw that out.
Definitely, that's a good idea. I'll definitely mention that to Clint from Camelot Tree. He's looking for somewhere highly visible where he can demonstrate organic lawn care to sell his product, basically, you know, and Mack Avenue certainly fits that bill.
Well, and he'd get the benefit of the collaborative effort too. So all of those community, you know, each of the Grosse Pointes that touches Mac and the city of Detroit and Wayne County, and that would hear that same message. So there'd be some leverage there too for him. I mean, Grosse Pointe Park first, of course, but just so you have that option in your cap too, under your cap too. Thought I'd throw it out there.
Okay.
Thank you.
For new business, I had a couple of things that I've already touched on. My goal is for us always to have a couple of action items when we come out of these meetings, and you know, Nick is going to be working on some of these things. Obviously, he's got kind of a lot to do already with adding a web page and working on the Green Communities Challenge. But I'm really hopeful that, you know, we can always keep moving forward and that we don't stall. So I wanted to mention, I got some really interesting information, a couple of links from someone who's actually not even a resident, but sent me some information about utilizing trees, requiring trees in parking lots, and requiring landscaping within parking lots, and a couple of resources on that. And it's I haven't forwarded them to you guys yet, and I haven't forwarded it to the city manager.
Three, two, one. No, didn't work.
Vikas, can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you. We lost you right when you said you're going to forward something to the city manager.
Okay. So yeah, someone forwarded me these resources about requiring tree plantings in parking lots. And I actually did forward it to Michelle because she's on planning. You look at the difference in the pictures, you know, the parking lots that don't have trees and the parking lots that the way that this place is recommending that you use trees in new parking lots. You know, it makes a remarkable difference. So I'm just getting started on that. Like I only received that yesterday. So that's something, you know, I would like to come back to at some point. But the two things I want to continue looking into are utilizing composting, and then, like I said, the green procurement policy, which I will go ahead and send the example that I have to Nick. And yeah, those are just things I wanted to touch on that I'm looking to delve into further in the future. So those are my new business items. I'm not going to task anybody else with those, but like I said, I always want to have an idea of what we're going to be working on before we meet again. So that's all I have. Michelle, go ahead.
On your point about that first resource you mentioned, that person is very committed to tree canopies in general and funded trees all along the Jefferson corridor years ago. So could be a real opportunity there. Brian should probably be involved in that.
Is that Roger?
No, he was Mac.
Okay.
I believe.
Yeah, he was Mac. You're right.
That's correct.
Okay, thanks, Michelle. That's good to know. I think if we are looking at any new parking, or even with, you know, what we're looking at with the DPW and potentially with the SCAP Center, I think, like I said, the photos of the way that trees are being utilized, and these are not modern developments. Some of the pictures are just showing the way that, you know, in Paris, they utilize trees in a different way than a lot of American cities do. So I don't want to go off on that tangent too much, but it was very interesting, and we'll get into that later on. Anybody else have anything?
Yeah.
I'm set.
Can we
Okay.
review the action items before we take off for all the committee members? So
Sure. So Nick is going to continue to work on the webpage and the Green Communities Challenge.
then we each have to send possible tips for Earth Week.
Right. So yeah, we each have a little bit to do toward getting ready for what we're going to do for Earth Day, sending Nick sending Nick those ideas, and then I will also reach out to businesses and see if that's something that they want to be involved in between the 22nd and the 30th. And then I'm going to continue before our next meeting to look into composting and the green procurement policy. And I think that's it.
Okay, and you can add mine on there to look for possible education to add on to those tips for the day. If we could have one education thing that my goal is to have parents talk to their kids, or adults talk to each other, or kids talk to each other about, you know, what's the importance? Why do we celebrate Earth Day every year? And if we have one topic every day that they can talk about at dinner, something like that. I'll
Okay.
craft it and I'll send you guys some stuff. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, we'll just skip it.
And I will put my notes together, and then once I have that out there, you know, I'll email everybody, and then we can plan our next meeting via email. I think that probably works more easily.
Yeah, you've been really good about that. I appreciate that.
Okay, 55 minutes. If
Awesome.
there's nothing else, thank you
We
guys. for
used
being
our
here.
resources wisely.
Do we want to
I'm
see if
the
there's any
fast
public
talker.
comments?
Sorry, Vikas?
See if Mr. Max has any public comment to share.
Oh, I completely forgot about public comment. I'm sorry.
Looks like I see no hand raised. So I
Is he
think,
still alive?
so I think public comment, I think we might be good.
Okay. All right, then I will thank him for coming, and thank all of you for coming, and I will talk to you all soon.
Great.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Thanks, good
Everybody.
night.